Welcome to Disruptive Conversations. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and we are having a great guest, Deb Pines, who's going to be talking about her journey in the writing world and how she has shifted and gone in more than one directions. And, for us to remember that oftentimes we think of ourselves as this or that. And really, the truth of the matter is that we're not this or that. We're ands. And so we start as son, daughter, cousin, friend. We add on from there in terms of what we're doing in our work lives and how we're going about living our lives. So we generally go more towards the and than the or. So let's keep that in mind, particularly as we're meeting with Deb Pines today, who has really added quite a number of ands into her self-identity and her self-concept. And we're going to talk about how that can happen and the importance of being open to that and being open to the space of possibility. So one thing that we know is that sometimes people really miss the boat and miss many boats because they're missing the cues that something different can happen. And when we're open to change, when we're open to shift and to challenge, and we're open to our own ownership, the possibilities around us can really look far more inviting and also far more possible. If this is the first time that you're joining us today, and we're waiting for Deb to come on, if this is the first time that you're joining us today, welcome everyone. And in this Disruptive Conversations, we talk about being able to embrace change and what that looks like for us. So Asheville Equine Therapy, thanks so much for joining us. And I'm wondering, is that Asheville, North Carolina? Specific story about that. And Granite Bougie joined. Under the Lens joined, thank you. Flow State joined. Flow State is a special state to be in. And we're still waiting for Deb to come on, which is completely fine. So if this is your first time with Disruptive Conversations, I'm Dr. Risa Reiger, and I help people, companies, teams make positive change at all points in their lives. And here's Deb, she's on, and she started following me, and we're just waiting for her to ask to come live with me, which is going to be next. All good. Oh, here she goes. Here's her request. We're going to be going on. We're going to be talking about how to really bring change and embrace change in our lives, what that looks like. Here's Deb. She's buffering on, and we have succeeded. So, Deb, I'm going to be introducing the show, myself and you, and then we're going to shift onto the amazing conversation that's going to be happening. Love your cup, by the way. Love your mug. So welcome everyone to Disruptive Conversations, in which we deep dive into the experiences and challenges these women have needed to navigate and conquer in order to achieve their personal and professional success at this point in time. So I'm Dr. Risa Reiger, clinical psychologist, and I'm an expert in change. I help people make positive change at any point because the good news is that we are built for change. In order to make positive change, we need to disrupt. You need to disrupt a thought, a feeling, a belief, a habit, a behavior in order to create your 10.0 life. And that's what this series of conversations is all about. And today, to help us on that journey, we have Deb Pines here with us to tell us about her journey for us to learn from and really hear what it takes to go from here to there and bring another and into your life. So here, I'm going to Deb Pines. She's so accomplished. Again, I can't remember everything, so I'm reading from the bio. Deb Pines is an award-winning headline writer. Remember, headline writer for the New York Post. She is the author of 10 Mimi Goldman Chautauqua Mysteries, all top sellers in the Chautauqua Institution in southwestern New York, where they're set. We're going to hear more of that in case you're not quite sure what that means. Deb is also a former reporter. She's a lover of puns, show tunes, coffee, Wordle, spelling bee. I love spelling bee too. Indoor cycling and her 3 grandkids. She lives in New York City with her wonderful and accomplished husband, Dave. And it is my great pleasure, Deb, to be here with you
Thank you
today.
for having me. It is an honor for me to be here too, and I can't wait to get into this topic.
So, of all the things that I've said about your bio, is there something that you would like to add or
No,
embellish
I
on?
don't. You left me with the subject of disrupting. Do you want to ask that question? Because I think it's such an interesting subject, especially for women.
Absolutely. So my question to you is, Deb, what have you needed to disrupt inside of yourself in order to achieve the personal and professional success that you have up to this point in
And
time? Because there's
it is
always
such a
more
good
to come.
question because you left me with that, and I've been thinking about it. And I think that, like a lot of people, but especially women, I was not a disruptor for many years. I really was someone who, plays by the rules, colors within the lines, waits my turn. And in the publishing business, especially, that didn't serve me well. I kept waiting for some outside affirmations, the hand of God to come down and say, "You are the worthy one who deserves to be published." And I think a lot of women are that way, not just me, but taught to be a good girl and taught to follow the rules. And so I kept waiting to get recognized by someone else in the traditional publishing world. And so and this is a common story in the arts, where you have near hits and near misses. And so I wrote mysteries. I got rejections by hundreds of people. I got a little glimmer of hope when I got an agent. I lost an agent. And eventually, here's where the disruption comes in, is I decided after something like 10 or 15 years of this, that I am as good as a lot of the people getting published. Maybe not as good as the very best. Maybe I'll never be as good as the very best, but just waiting for someone else to declare that I'm as good is not working. And so I self-published. And I could go on further, but that was the disruptive moment for me, where I decided to stop waiting for the outsider to say you're good enough. I decided to have confidence in myself that I am good enough, and I could go on, but go ahead.
That's that's
Yeah,
so important because a lot of
right.
us were waiting for permission. We're waiting to get that outside
Yes.
okay. And it's like we're waiting online. And sometimes does that experience that you experienced, the experience you experienced, did it seem like, that you're patiently waiting online and that there are all these people who seem to just cut into the line,
Yeah,
like they're not following the
exactly.
rule, like you
And
should be
so
next.
even when I was disrupting, I was a cautious disruptor. I didn't go in as bold as I'm saying it. I felt a little self-conscious disrupting. I felt the stigma of self-publishing that many people of our generation feel, which is that it is, vanity press and anybody can just print garbage. But nowadays, actually, something like 10 of the top 15 bestsellers on Amazon were written by people who began as self-publishers. So it's not like I'm alone in this. And the younger people have decided self-publishing is not a last resort. It's something that they want to do and bypass the gatekeepers and go right to the readers. And they reach them through TikTok or talking to Dr. Risa online. And they don't even feel ashamed about going the self-publishing route. And what I found is, the world has changed in the 10 years that I've been doing it. So initially, the bookstore where I am, one of the top sellers and the top selling local fiction writer, they rejected the book, saying they don't take self-published books. Now there's a sea change, not just within me, but in self-publishing. And so if you're giving this message to others, the idea that you have to just wait, I'm here to join you in encouraging people to stop waiting. Not everybody's waiting, and go ahead and try and, grab for it yourself. And for me, it's been so satisfying. I mean, I'm not anywhere, I'm no John Grisham or J.K. Rowling, but each year I sell more books. My audience is growing, and I find it very satisfying to connect with readers.
That's such an important message. And the idea of not, first of all, John Grisham, there's already a John Grisham. So you shouldn't be a John Grisham because that spot's already taken. As with J.K. Rowling, that spot's already taken. But the Deb Pines spot is your spot. And that's a spot that actually has space, that you have found a spot and created that spot and are growing that spot. And what I want to just bring out is the importance of, for our communities who are listening. And this is not an easy thing to do. I mean, when we talk about it, it takes a lot of internal wherewithal to give yourself permission, give yourself the okay as you're waiting for some kind of outside, as we wait for some sort of outside anointment, like you're okay enough for this, that there are ways that you can empower yourself and not shove into the line, but create your own line. And then be in your line and take it to the finish line.
You said that very well. And I think, since I've gotten in the self-publishing, I've been reading more about people, who are successful at it, and people who, how they got into it, some reluctantly and some more brave. And one of the biggest bestsellers, Colleen Hoover, she has, just a ton of best-selling books. She began as a social worker, and she was listening to a song that, said something like, decide who to be and be it. And I mean, it sounds it's sort of just a mantra, I guess, of hers, but it's a pretty good one. Decide it. Stop waiting for people to say, okay, I agree, you deserve to be that somebody, or you have the credentials, or you have, just be it.
Well, there are many ways of being, and there are ways of being that require others. There are ways of being that that you can empower yourself to be. And you're going to all different spots within yourself and really communicating and establishing yourself. And I'm sure everybody wants to know this, but you are an award-winning headline writer for the New York Post. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Who knew that was a job?
Okay,
right?
That's
and
not
how
my
you got
job
there.
At the New York Post. I just put headline writer because that's why I've won an award, but or a couple awards. The thing is, my job at the New York Post is the official title is copy editor, and that and a fraction of the job is the headlines, but it's the piece people are most interested in, because I say the New York Post is a tabloid that is known for its headlines that every day walk a fine line between humor and bad taste. Uh, so people, it's sort of this snarky, in-your-face, pun-filled headlines. And what my job is, I edit the stories. There's reporters, they're a team, and they write the stories. When I start work at 4 o'clock, the stories are written, and by then there's a decision to be made of how long they should be in the paper. So I chop them. I'm given specifications for the size of the story and the specifications for the size of the headline. And also we all contribute to the front page headline that when I started there, I was the only woman on the copy desk. And the main boss would come over and say, let's see if Barry's boys can come up with something for the front page today. And he would propose to us what the story is. Maybe I'll just give you one of my award-winning headlines. And that is, it was a day when there was a blizzard forecast to hit New York City. And the mayor closed the schools, closed the roads, said only essential people should come to work. And everybody went to sleep, woke up the next morning. There was no blizzard. It had missed New York. There's like one other fact to be told is in the middle of the night, the National Weather Service knew it was going to miss New York, but didn't tell anyone because they decided it would be too confusing. The city was already on this emergency path. And so that's the story that was the front page for us, and came to our team and said, what do you got? And so I said for this story, flake news.
Well, bravo to that. And I want to also tell you a way that you may not have known that the importance of headlines I have used actually in my work with, when there are people who are executives and leaders, and sometimes people also in their spot of being human beings are also parents. And for parents who are looking to communicate with their preteens and teenagers, and usually we think, well, I have to describe and explain and use a lot of words. And after the first 2 words that your teen has heard before, they have shut you out. You are on mute. And so I tell them, think of it like a headline. Think of it like the New York Post headline, and just say it. Get what you want out in the shortest number of words possible. Go headline route, and it's enormously helpful. So I want to thank you for that. And I'm hearing, as you've gone to different places and taken different routes, and what is it that you tuned into or experienced or listened to or grew inside of yourself to do that?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think that you get more confident, perhaps with age. I mean, you have some doubts. Technology.
Not necessarily. I'm gonna jump in here, and that age. People can still be on the same hamster wheel from decade to decade to decade. And just, as people say, well, I just want my kid to mature. I want my spouse to mature. I want that time and age alone without awareness isn't going to get you there.
I think I was pretty frustrated by the publishing field. And, so that it was frustration plus a little confidence and resentment at people going ahead, and maybe a little encouragement from other people. So I think, I had some doubters, of course, who said that why don't you just submit it again to someone else? But I had others who supported me, and I could tell a funny story is when I went to the bookstore with my book, self-published, put together, helped with a niece helped me with the technology part. That PS, if anyone else is thinking of self-publishing, has gotten easier and easier as time goes on. It's more user friendly, so now it's not as difficult to self-publish. But anyway, I go to the bookstore, and it's in Chautauqua, New York, where the mysteries are set. And I say, I have a murder mystery set here. Would you like to take it just on spec and see if anyone buys it? And he said, I'm so sorry, we don't carry self-published books. My hands are tied. And I came home thinking that's the end of it. I'll just put it on a shelf. And my mother-in-law, who was a big supporter of mine, said, that is nonsense. And she walked back to the store. She brought a couple copies of the book, and she said, you sell them, call me, and I'll come get the money, 5 copies. And if you don't sell them, I'll come get the books. And my mother-in-law had 5 friends go and buy the books. And after that, strangers started buying it. So it wasn't just my mother-in-law's friends. But for me, it helped to have some supporters. I think if everyone was a doubter, I'm not sure I have the stomach for that. I'll show them. And some of my people who doubted me, I have an I'll show them. I won't say the relative, but they said, this is crazy, another Chautauqua murder mystery, and I was like, yes. So some of my motivation is to show the doubters, and I'm buoyed by the people encouraging me. Yes.
So Deb, you're this nice, this nice girl, and you still are, but you're a nice girl who's no longer looking for permission. You could be a nice person, but not have to always be standing in line and watch people cut into the line while you keep standing there. So you're all of these things, right? And so how does that person get into murder mysteries?
I have always loved murder mysteries, and I still love murder mysteries. I grew up with my single mom, and the time she had most for me was watching Perry Mason on the couch, and we just loved it. I mean, I just grew up just adoring Perry Mason, and also adoring the special time I got with my mom working so hard to support me and my brother. And that was our precious time, and it remains just like something I truly, truly enjoy. Reading murder mysteries is a pleasure for me, so I want to write that.
Well, this is so important, and thank you so much for sharing that when we can tap into our own experiences and have that be an energizing force within us, and that can be part of the wind underneath our wings to get us there, that there is this pleasure that you have. And I experienced it so strongly as you were talking about it, and this pleasure that you have, that you want to also communicate to the people who are going to be opening up your books. Many books.
I love Agatha Christie. I love modern mysteries too, so it's just, it's fun for me to create the story and try and fool people. It's an old-fashioned whodunit, where it could have been anybody, and you try and guess, who did it. So
it takes a lot of, I'm thinking though, from a novel perspective and a mystery perspective, that there's a thinking and a strategy of where you start and how it ends, of the twists and the turns, and you don't want to be like the same old, the same, and that you have to create new twists and like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. And that there's something about being, as a reader, being delighted by something that's like, ooh, that's interesting. I didn't see that one coming. And do you tap into also that experience
Um,
of
that's my
delight?
aim, and I enjoy, coming up with a twist. Some of it is influenced by my news career because I read about crimes and everything in New York, and I used to be a police reporter and a crime reporter, so way back
Oh,
when. And I also research a lot of what I do. So I have a friend who's the former sheriff in Chautauqua County. And, I try and bounce ideas off of people. And that's part of the fun for me, too. I like collaborating and picking people's brains. So maybe one day I'll have to call you to create a character like yourself in one of the books.
I cannot even be, yeah, that would be such a
Okay.
tremendous, tremendous honor. And the importance, the other thing I think that the community really should hear is not just what you found inside of yourself, which is so important, and that's the start point, the importance of letting people know, the importance of allowing space for people to be of help to you.
I'm
I
always
love
a,
that your mother-in-law
yes.
found five friends,
Yeah.
but found five friends, like
Yes.
go and buy Deb's book. And that's
Right.
how things start. That, that's smart. That's a smart way of doing things. And it's a creative way. And so if you can't, sometimes if you can't hit a nail on the head, that doesn't mean that you give up on the nail or you give up on how it gets into the wall. You just try to be creative, and one of the, when people who tune in every week know that one of the sayings in my
Yeah.
family is that you never know who's going to come up with the idea, who is going to have that spark, and that you're willing to hear this and be open to it. that's
Thank
that's
you.
just
I mean,
wonderful.
some of it's luck for anybody, and some of it's perseverance. And you know, in as I go along, I also think it's fun to find the parts of the job that you enjoy. So I enjoy the writing, but I also enjoy going out and talking to people, and I also enjoy coming up with some of the stuff online to advertise it. So, I'm trying to embrace all of it of being the author, not just the writing of it, but uh, connecting to readers at libraries and, readers online and, trying to grow the business as well.
Well, Deb, you have really added so much to your end. So our last question before we need to wrap up today is, so Deb, woman of many paths, and I didn't know you were a police reporter also, so there's so much more to still learn. Uh, what is your next
Well, I am
disruption?
still writing Mimi Goldman murder mysteries, and I'm writing number 11, which is crazy to imagine. I'm still working. I've slowed down a little at the New York Post, so I'm just working 3 days a week. And I'm toying with retiring from my New York Post hat, although I might stick with it longer. One thought I have, and I'm still dubious about this, but one thought I have is I might do a story about my years at the New York Post or about New York Post headlines, since people enjoy them so much. So that's in the back of my mind. Right now, I'm enjoying number 11 and enjoying my grandchildren, and that's what's on my agenda.
Well, from me and from all of us, want to thank you so very much. I do want to let people know that Deb is another way of really disrupting herself, disrupted by coming on to Disruptive Conversations. This is her first Instagram Live as a participant, and I couldn't be more thrilled that it happened here with me and that you had that trust that we were going to get there, which we have. and thanking, and their thanks from the people who had the opportunity to listen to you. And if anyone hasn't had a chance to listen to all of it, you want to rehear it, you would like someone you know who's an aspiring writer or somebody who's aspiring to make change in their lives, that this conversation will be posted on my Instagram and will be posted by Deb as well. So you haven't missed your opportunity. Deb and I are going to be taking our shot for our cover shot today. And remember, if you haven't followed me, please do, because I'm always dropping very important information and videos to help you make the changes that you would like to see. So Deb, should we take our glass shot
okay.
for a moment? Do we need a fluff? You're amazing. Okay, ready? And one more. So thank you everyone for coming on today. Remember that positive change can happen at any point. You haven't missed your opportunity, and see you next time, and that I've saved a seat for you.